never told anyone what happened to me when I was 14. Not my friends, not my family, but a part of me has always wanted to. Maybe because, even after all these years, I still can't decide whether it was a curse or a gift. When my grandfather Ray died, my mom, his only child, was left to handle everything. He'd been divorced from my grandmother for decades, never remarried, and lived alone in a quiet house several states away. That meant one weekend, we packed up the car and drove out to sort through his belongings before the estate sale. Grandpa's place wasn't a mansion, but for one man, it was more than enough acres of land. A pond tucked behind a grove of trees. An in-ground pool that probably hadn't been used in years. Ray hadn't started life with much. His father was a violent alcoholic who drifted between jobs, and Grandpa grew up with 2 siblings, both of whom died before he did. He swore he'd never become his father, and he meant it. No alcohol, relentless work ethic, a PhD in hand, a respected position as a college professor. He'd built himself a good life. We got in late that Friday night and crashed. The next morning, we started combing through the house. Mom focused on documents and sentimental items. I wandered. That's when I found the attic. Dust hung in the air like a curtain, and every step made the old boards groan. It was a treasure trove: vintage clothes, old toys, boxes of newspapers, even a crate full of Playboys from the 70s and 80s. 14-year-old me spent more time than I'll admit flipping through those dots. Then I saw it: a large wooden chest shoved into the far corner, covered with a frayed blanket. The lock was old, but still intact. I searched until I found the key, hanging from a rusty nail across the attic. Inside, most of it was dull yellowed documents, a deed to the house, my mom's birth certificate, envelopes of paperwork. But in the bottom corner, almost hidden, was a small velvet bag tied with a stiff bit of string. I untied it, tipped it over, and something slid into my palm. A glass bottle, maybe half the size of an old Coke bottle. Inside was a dark amber liquid, thick and murky. Suspended in it was a round yellow shape. At first, I thought it was a ball, but the liquid made it hard to see clearly. The cork sealing the bottle looked ancient, dry enough to crumble. Around the neck was another piece of string, this one holding a small tag. On one side, Latin, nulla, domas, hic. On the other side, written in shaky red block letters, never open. Of course, teenage curiosity had my fingers on that cork immediately. But before I could pull it, my mom called from downstairs. I set the bottle on a nearby shelf and went to see what she wanted. The rest of the day was spent helping her, and I almost forgot about it until Sunday morning, when I went back to the attic, partly for the magazines, partly for the bottle. I stuffed both into my duffel bag before we left. For a week, the bottle sat untouched. School was rough. Joey, James, and Chris, the 3 biggest jerks in my grade, had been on my case nonstop. Around the same time, I started having nightmares. I'd wake up sweating, tangled in my sheets, sometimes yelling. I could never remember them, until one night, that dream burned into my brain. I was standing in a stone chamber. Behind me was an open archway to a desert, wind hissing through the sand. Before me, on a raised dais, was a throne. A hooded figure sat on it, still as a statue. "Tell me, young one, what do you desire?" The voice was low, raspy. I stepped forward. "Joey, James, and Chris won't leave me alone. I want them to stop. You must free me," the figure said. He rose. The cloak slid off, revealing a towering, naked figure at least 8 feet tall. His skin was pale yellow, except for his stomach, which bulged outward in a sickly lemon hue. His face was a nightmare of sagging folds, small black eyes glinting above a grin full of jagged teeth. "Free me," he said again, extending one long-fingered hand tipped with claws. In the dream, I bowed my head. Yes, I woke, standing in my bedroom, holding the bottle. The yellow ball was pressed against the glass. I realized it wasn't a ball, it was that swollen belly. My fingers were already on the cork. I pulled. Nothing happened, or so I thought. That night, the dream came again. This time, I was standing in a stranger's living room. The front door opened slowly, and Lemonbelly ducked under the frame. Stepping inside, "You should see this," he said, looking right at me. I followed, unable to resist. His movements were jerky, but purposeful as he climbed the stairs and slipped into a bedroom. Moonlight spilled across Joey's sleeping face. Lemonbelly looked back at me, once eyes glinting, then opened his mouth. His jaw unhinged, dropping far past his chest, stretching into a gaping black void rimmed with razors. "No," I shouted, but it was useless. He grabbed Joey with lightning speed and swallowed him whole. The screaming continued, muffled. From inside that bulging yellow stomach, I woke up gasping. The next day, Joey was missing. The night after, James vanished. When Lemonbelly came for Chris, I was ready. I followed him into the house, bottle hidden in my jacket. "Leave me," he snarled. I pulled the cork. "Nola domus hic," I said. The bottle seared my hand as a blinding light filled the room. Then a loud pop. He was gone. I corked it quickly. Inside, the yellow belly pressed against the glass. A long, clawed hand rested there too, like he was waiting. I should have destroyed it, but I didn't. Years passed. I let him out again. An ex-girlfriend who cheated. A boss who stole my promotion. People who wronged me. Every time Lemonbelly did exactly what I wanted. Every time, he went back without a fight. And every time, it felt a little easier. It's nice, I've learned, to be the one people should fear. My friends, the story you heard tonight is just a small door that opened, and behind it lies a hell greater than you can imagine. Subscribe before I have to knock on your door myself.